It's a beautiful bacon day, Cookie Crusaders. Today we're going to be talking about walnut toppings. Now, they are a topping that has been tested before by other YouTube creators and other people on the internet, but as I've done a lot of research on them, there is specific uses where I think that they actually do have a chance to do some value. They will not outclass almond toppings yet, and they will not outclass the peanut toppings that I've covered before as well. But there is specific instances where you can utilize them if for any reason you've invested into them already. And if you haven't and you want to, you can. But I do still recommend peanut and almond toppings over walnut toppings. But I'd still like to at least talk about where they can be useful. So, what walnut toppings specifically do is they give you the highest defense potential that you can get on any one cookie. So as you can see, at a level 12, it is a 9% base buff of defense. And then you can have a maximum additional defense of 3%. So you can have up to 12% defense on each walnut topping. If you max out 5 of them and get lucky with the 3% max on the bottom substat and 9% on the top, you can have up to 69% defense. Now, here's why that's important. That percentage is going to reflect on your base defense to start. And so, for instance, Cotton Cookie here has 27,000 base defense before any adjustments from toppings. Now, that is adjustments from cookie bonds, from monuments, and from lab upgrades. So that's not her true base defense. And that will matter when it comes to the topping conversions on how you add the percentages. And I can show you that. So this is a 3% add. And if we equip that, it's giving 27,672. And that's only 672 additional. Now, if I take a calculator and I take the base amount that we see here, 27,089, times it by 3%, that should be 812. But we only get 672. And that is because the monuments and the lab upgrades are making that difference so that you're not getting those in calculation with that percentage. So please keep that in mind when you're doing the percentage calculations against the base stats that show under the power box, as they will not properly reflect against the percentages that you have from toppings, since there is alterations and adjustments based on what you've upgraded. With that said, the few cookies that I think can benefit from walnut toppings are the ones that can summon creatures. The reason is that their skills say that they directly come out with attack, defense, and HP of a certain percentage equal to the cookies. So, this is after calculation. So let's say Cotton Cookie right here with just the base setup, no extra toppings, at 27,089 defense. If the sheep were to be summoned, they would come out with 157.8% defense of that number. So we can take the 27,000 here, 89, and then times that by the 157.8%, and we would get sheep that have 42,746 defense. That's not bad. And so you can get that up to a maximum of 69% defense, which means that you would be roughly around 70,000 defense sheep at probably the best. Now, here's how defense specifically works. It takes the number after calculation into effect off of the attack. So if an attack's coming through for 100,000 and you have 27,000 defense, you're going to be blocking 67,000, or sorry, you'll only be taking 67,000 as you're blocking the 27,000. And then the damage resist, this is why almond toppings do a little bit better, they're going to block a percentage off the damage before that defense is going. So in comparison, if you have this 27,000 defense and you have damage resistance of 10%, you're going to be blocking 10,000 of that 100,000 of damage resist and the 27,000 from the defense for a total block of 37,000. So you can see the higher the number it is, the better Solid Almond's going to have an effect on the damage, because that's how it can block those numbers. So if the meta changes to more specific, lower damaging cookies that just have great skills that deal like a lot of small hits rapidly, similar to like latte, affogato, espresso, how they have hits that deal lower percentage damage but they deal it multiple times, or even poison cookie, those ones are going to be a situation where the walnut toppings are going to be more effective against, because if you have a high enough defense, you can be reducing their attack down to a very small number. Where damage resistance, you can only have at a maximum of 51%, even with perfect salmon almond toppings. So that means that at that highest percent, you'll only be blocking a little bit over half of the damage, but you will still be guaranteed taking damage. Where in low attacking damage situations, if the walnut toppings are high enough and the damage is small enough, you can actually be blocking almost the entire amount of it. So it's a very situational thing that's not very meta right now. It's something I could see in the future if Dev Sisters make enough cookies that would affect this situation. But the summon creature cookies are the ones that can at least utilize it the best, because they can bring out even stronger units than themselves with those defenses. And so, to kind of give a good example, I tested this on Hollyberry, the highest base defense cookie in the game, and it didn't make enough of a difference to really outclass peanut or almond toppings. And so, it showed me that even though it was still blocking a lot of damage, it was still doing good, in the sense of like, if that was my only option, it would still be survivable. But in PvP and high level player versus environment battles, it wasn't doing enough. And I'll show you that. I'll take level 12s onto Hollyberry, and then I'll move them on to someone like Cotton or Licorice Cookie, or even Pumpkin Pie, because Pumpkin Pie, the pom-pom comes out with a total of 382% health, 188% of the defense, and her defense is already pretty high to start. It's 30,000, so nearly almost double that on the base level. And then if you can max it out at level 69%, you could have well over 100,000 defense on pom-pom alone, which that's pretty good. So let me go ahead and just give you some visual examples, and I'll take just one cookie into battle against other teams, so that way you can see it in real time. So we will fight this team here, and we will clear out this team. We will give Hollyberry preset 3, and we will go attach the highest level walnut toppings that we have, and we'll take them off of who we have currently. So right now, I have not maxed these out completely, because I was already getting the data and the results from the lower levels, so I didn't see a need at that time to fully max them out, but I can for the sake of testing if that's something you guys want to see. Just let me know in the comments. So here we go. 95,000 power. It's about 10,000 less than almond, but we've got 37.8% defense, and as you can see, we've gone up to about 107,000 defense. So we will test the almonds, we will test the walnuts, and we will test the peanuts, and we'll see which of the three are going to do differently, at least with Hollyberry. But then I'll move the walnut over to the summon creature cookies, and we'll show the difference there. Now we are going to give the feather for revival, just in case we do perish. And we're actually going to give the horn for extra defense. And then we'll see how that does. So, testing Walnut first. Just Hollyberry against full cookie team against this person. And we'll see what happens. And it's good that we're fighting a full team of 5 because we got a bunch of attacks coming at us at the same time, so we can see our overall damage resistance. And you can see it kind of on screen, like 2,000, 3,000, 8,000, 7,000, 7,000. Some of them are crits, some of them are not. So, thanks to the feather, we did win, but if we didn't have the feather, we would have not won that there. Okay? And our damage received was 641,000 on Hollyberry. This is not fully upgraded Walnut toppings, so that could have been technically a higher value and a better result, but that's okay. We'll still test these high-level peanut and high-level almonds to get a general comparison. So let's go ahead and give the peanuts a test. Now the peanuts are giving us a massive amount of health bonus. We do not have as much defense and damage resistance, but we have such a huge health pool that we can just take many different hits and not necessarily be too phased by it. And as you can see, we're surviving even longer with the peanut toppings because that health pool is just so ridiculously high, since Hollyberry has one of the highest health pools in the game currently. And so we didn't even hit the feather that time. And in fairness, we have level 12 peanut toppings versus the level 6 walnut toppings, so that does make a difference. We took 680,000 damage that time, but if you look here in the stats of Hollyberry, when we look at the toppings, I have to actually go to Hollyberry to show the difference. When we look at the toppings, the walnut toppings, her health is 213,000 with 107,000 defense. So we have 60,000 HP variance there. And here we have 78,000 defense, but the 295,000 HP. So for that reason, we were able to take a little bit more damage, but survive better because we just had such a high health. But then, of course, now we're going to test the low defense, low HP pool, since it's mostly focused on damage resistance here, and we're going to see how that does against that same team. And so here we go. This is the almond toppings that everyone usually recommends on this cookie. As you can see, we're not taking a lot of damage, about like 2,000, 1,000, 3,000. And so this is a good example of the almond toppings. What it does is that we're shaving down percentages of the attacks. And so the higher number of attacks, they're doing a little bit less damage. But we actually got to lower HP on the almond toppings than we did the peanut toppings. We do have a lower HP pool, but we took 400,000. So we blocked more damage with the almond toppings, but we have a lower HP pool. So therefore, we were closer to hitting our death point because of that reason. And it took a little bit longer for us to actually take out the enemy team because we didn't really have any good comeback stats. It was mostly focused on just pure damage resistance. So you can see that all three of them work as far as almond, walnut, and peanut toppings, as far as like a high defender like this. But it's more so how they work. What's the differences with them? So now we're going to change to pumpkin pie. And we are going to put those same walnut toppings onto pumpkin pie. I'm not going to show the comparisons of peanuts here, as I've already done a video on peanut toppings on pumpkin pie. It does really good. I've been shifting around toppings for alliance mode though, so that's why you might see some different setups here. So if we go back to walnut and we take all of Hollyberries and put them onto pumpkin pie, I will show you the final stats and differences. Okay, so 175,000 power on almonds, base power of 154 with nothing, and 158 with walnuts that are not fully upgraded. And so base stats, 30,000 defense with nothing, 40,000 with the walnuts that we have, and no upgraded amounts on the almonds, but we have about a 30% damage resistance there. So nearly equal percentages as far as damage resist and defense on both sides, but do remember we're going to get 188% pom-pom that's going to come out because of the walnut toppings. So we'll test almonds first against the same team, and we'll see how we do and how well we survive. So pom-pom comes in, striking, dealing the healing down, debuff, attacking, providing most of the defense for pumpkin pie, and then a new one comes and is summoned as the skills cool down, and we're faring pretty well with the solid almonds so far. Got down to 17%, so it was actually close, pretty close. If we look here, we did 1.3 million. We took 186,000. So overall, pretty good. Pretty good. Now if we switch over to the walnut toppings and test that, we are not going to have any bigger health pool than we did on the other side, so that's not going to give us any advantage for that reason. So now we're just hoping that the defense from Pom Pom is so huge that it won't let Pumpkin Pie die. And as you can see, we're doing the same level of attacking power as we did with the almonds. We're still getting through, and we only have level 6 walnuts, except the one level 12. And we're still handling to get through. And we had 27% left here. And so here's the prime example. Damage received 163,000. So almost the same level of damage between almond and walnut. And those were unupgraded walnut toppings. And that's because Pumpkin Pie and the other summoners can specifically utilize that skill to their maximum effect by summoning creatures that have a higher attack, a higher defense, a higher HP pool. And so that matters for that reason. And also if you go to the seamstress pincushion with these same type of cookies that use the creatures, you can increase their attack and summon duration even longer. So what you can do is you can build them in a sense that they will summon really high HP and defense creatures, equip the seamstress pincushion, and they'll have really strong attacks too, and they can just dominate the field because you have so many bodies on the field. So at that point, the enemy team would need specific cookies to be able to push through the damage on all enemy units rather than just the cookies, because most cookies have special abilities that target cookies first. So this is the video I want to cover on walnut toppings. I still don't think they outclass almond toppings in the broad scenario. I do think that they're on par with the peanut toppings, and peanut toppings I still think actually in certain scenarios are outclassing almond toppings, and those again fall under the summoned creature types as they're utilizing that skill to the highest level. But I think the walnut toppings right now are probably best suited to the people that can either have really high base defenses like Hollyberry, or can summon creatures with higher percentages defense than their initial defense themselves. And as the meta changes and grows, if there's any other cookies that give additional defensive power, if there's any other setups that have more summoned creatures, I think this will become even more important over time. So just keep an eye on it for now. If you don't want to invest currently, that's fine, but I think it's something you should at least think about. If you guys have anything you want to add or anything you want to say in the comments about these toppings, or just that you want to see as like different tests, let me know. I'd love to hear it. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.